This is our remains poetry.
Wow.
And there's
That's
our
a very
point.
powerful poem.
Yeah. On other occasions, we get sent out to tackle looters raiding a bank. And one of them makes it up the road, probably armed, possibly not. Well, myself and somebody else are all of the same mind. So 3 of us open fire, the other kind will let him fly. And I swear I see every round as it rips through his life. As he brought daylight on the other side, so we've hit this looter a dozen times. And he's down the ground sort of inside out. Pain itself. Asians is really important because it tells us, the readers, the poem, that this is not the first time that he's going to duties like this, and it won't be the last one. On other occasions, we get sent out to tackle looters raiding a bank. Another duty going, just getting looters. And in this poem, there's a really, really big sense of reputation. For an example, are all of the same mind. So all 3 of us, 3 of a kind, will let him fly. So the reputation all 3 all, it tells us that the soldier is really key for us the readers to want to know that he wasn't alone. There was 3 more soldiers, 2 more soldiers with him. If he's guilty, they're equally guilty. Another reputation is, I see every round as it rips through his life. I see broad daylight on the other side. The reputation of I see, it emphasizes the visual horror of the scene, and the reputation of probably armed, possibly not. First time it was said, it's telling us that if he's armed or not. The second time that he had told us about it is telling us that his memory, again, the killing comes. He keeps on remembering it. This line tells us that the reputation that the killing keeps on is coming in his mind. There's also, every time you feel like he's getting into his guiltiness, there is a sense of disrespect. For example, and one of my mates goes by and tosses his guts back into his body, then he's carted off in the back of the lorry. Okay, the looter, first when he was alive, they shooted him, it was the duty. But even after, that's another land, a 6 feet under desert sand. When near to the knuckle, here and now, his bloody life in my bloody hands. Now this poem, the poet of this poem, stands homage to a very talented man. Because not only was he an English poet, but he was also a novelist. Then he's carted off in the back of the lorry. End of story, except not really. His blood shadow stays on the street, and out of patrol I will write all of it, week after week. Then I'm home on leave, where I blink and when the pilot returns home and his family not even pretending he's not over there, he gets traumatized by the war. Thank you very much, and see you in a bit. Walter in this poem. The Walter occurs, end of story, except not really. Because before this line, the soldier is telling us how he got this guilt, how he got this trauma. And after this line, he's telling us the effects of it. So the turning point occurs over here. Also, you can do this play to you can do this poetry to a play. But in the last line, and my bloody his bloody life in my bloody hands. So my bloody hands, it could be a possible reference to Macbeth, because when Lady Macbeth persuades Lord Macbeth to kill King Duncan, she starts to sleepwalk. She says imaginary blood in her hand. This tells us that the soldier's guilt stands another land, a 6 feet under desert sand. When near to the knuckle, here and now, his bloody life in my bloody hands. Now this poem, the poet of this poem, stands homage to a very talented man. Because not only was he an English poet, but he was also a novelist.
And read them and picked them apart and unravelled bits and read around it and read between the lines. you've both done really amazing jobs on those 2 poems, so well done.
Thank you.
Really good.
Thank you.
It just bothers me that the young lady of the family picked such a graphic poem and you picked a nice peaceful one. I'm just going to put how hard you've worked on both poems. Obviously you've worked very hard on this poem, Perfect. So, let me think which one would be my favourite. I think that I like them both, but for different reasons. I like the imagery in both. Yours is quite your intonation and everything. It was, you paused at the right place, you emphasised the right stuff. I loved how you linked it to Macbeth. I loved how how you made that link. So.
And the reason we're doing that is because we know in GCSE you have to compare them to the other poetries, or even with the assignments, some.
So I loved how you did that. I made the comparison to Kamikaze as well, so it was good, good comparison. I like how you gave explanations of the key themes, that you explained those really clearly. So you picked out all the key themes, explained key themes very well. Which was really sort of clear presentation, which is brilliant. I loved how you had, both of you did, but I didn't mention it for you, Tyler. I like how you speak with feeling, and you've got the emphasis and the intonation right. So, so you recited the poem with feeling and brought it to life for me.
So first, we're going to go through each chapter of what happens to each chapter. I'm going to do number 1, and he's going to do number 2, and so on. And then we're going to go. Then we are going to go through the character analysis. So let's get into it. So chapter 1. Chapter 1 is where it starts, where Scrooge is in his workshop, or you can say office, and Bob Cratchit was working. Bob Cratchit asked, because on the following day there's going to be Christmas, Bob Cratchit asked that can he have time off?
What we're doing next year, we're going to explain this.
Christmas Carol. Need more spirits.
I like the Christmas Carol.
Yeah. If Christmas Carol comes, I think so. If Christmas Carol comes in the exams, between Christmas Carol and Dr. T.
The imagery where it uses the statue and the crumbling of the statue to show how it doesn't matter, like people might put so much importance on wealth and riches and material goods, and then over time, as time goes on, they don't matter because it all disappears, and what are you left with? So, you're only a piece of history, aren't you, really? At the end of the day, we are all pieces of history. I thought the imagery in both poems were really good, so yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Do you enjoy doing your literature?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you? Good. And how have you found poetry in general? Because it is quite hard to get into it, isn't it, really, at first?
I think so, like, when I was, like, around year 5, 1 year after year 5, year 6, around then, my mum got, I think, like a dictionary poetry, something like that. Yeah. There's, like, around poetry, small little poetry books. We used to read that every day, and then my mum got, like, our own poetry books so that we can actually write about them in our own words. And then my mum came with the GCSEs once I was in year 7. And then, yeah, we would be doing that. We just started poetry like around, I think so, this year or last year.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes I just think that interpreting poetry can be quite tricky. But you've both done really, really well in the interpretations of those poems. I honestly, the only thing that I could say for Tal to improve would be to give me a copy of it. And I already had a copy of it there. I've not been left with many questions to ask you about what that poem means. So for me, that's been a really good explanation because I understand the poem and I understand what the poet was trying to get at. Same with you, Talha. I wasn't left with many questions to ask because of your explanation. Your explanation was very, very good of the poem and I understood exactly what the poet was trying to get across. So I've nothing else to add. Keep up the good work. You two are going to be brilliant.
Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions?
Did you enjoy the poem? Which poem? If you did you like? Which of the poems do you prefer?
I think I have 3 poems that I actually like a lot. One was Manias, one was in G's Green Remains, and another one is called Prelude Stephen Ball. Because I like the one that has power, a lot of power inside and a lot of violence inside.
There's a poem that you won't find in any book, or you may not find it in any book. And I don't know, your mum might know this singer, I don't know whether she will or not, but there's a singer named John Denver. He's a country and western singer. He died in a plane crash, maybe 10 or 15 years ago. He wrote a poem, and you might be able to find it if you
decorated the room, celebrated Christmas with him. And whilst going forward, he came to a point where his Bella, his love, broke up with his engagement with him because he really got really obsessed with money and everything. And at that point, Scrooge didn't really want to see anything anymore. He was really sad, heartbroken. But the spirit kept on showing him, showed him more where Bella grows up with her own family, living happily. And then he teleports back to his bedroom. Thank you. Today's spirits that are going to come to you, and if you don't learn from them, you are going to turn into me, like me. Then Scrooge said, yeah, and just fell asleep. Chapter 2. When he wakes up, there is a glowing spirit coming, and that glowing spirit takes him to see his past, where he sees sad and happy Christmases. So the sad comes, his father leaves him in school, and it was really sad for him being all alone in Christmas. And then the spirit shows him happy Christmases. He refuses. He says, let them die. Once that happens, Scrooge, let's go forward. Then Scrooge walks through the doorknob of his house. That's a big house. So he goes through to his house. One doorknob. He looks at his doorknob, and then what happens is he sees his past partner of his work, Molly, as a ghost, formed as a ghost. Now he thought he just saw it as an illusion, so he did not care, and he just walked in. And then time had passed again and again till nighttime.
Doesn't do you any good. It's not going to, you're not going to thrive, so you'll just become withered inside, really. So yeah, it's good once you start reading around. It would be nice to see you doing a character analysis of ignorance and want when you've got time. It'd be really good. But you did really well again. The story was explained very clearly. I love how you two help each other as well. It's so you work really well together, don't you? Learning. Now they usually like that money isn't everything, and wealth, material things aren't everything.
When you can't buy happiness.
Exactly. And when you looked at Bob Cratchit's, when he looked through the window or wherever he was when he was looking at Bob Cratchit's house at Christmas present, and saw how little they had materialistic, but how much they had in other things. So love and companionship and fun.
A Christmas present. Yes. The ghost of Christmas present comes sitting down in his bedroom with a lot of joy. Now because Scrooge saw the Christmas present and he looks pleasant, he looks joyful, he accepted to go with him. Now the